I am 68 years old. I have built a fortress of a life, commanded men in boardrooms, and won every single argument I've ever had for the last 3 decades. I was the king of logic, the master of having the last word, and I am going to tell you the brutal truth that your couples therapists, your pride, and your so-called alpha male podcasts will never tell you about marriage. Why? Because they are too busy teaching you how to be right. They forget to warn you about the devastating cost of the trophy. Look at my hands. They don't shake from the age. They shake from the absolute suffocating silence of this massive empty house. I can still hear the faint metallic click of the front door closing from 5 years ago. I can still see the exact moment the light in her brown eyes just snapped. It didn't end with a screaming match. It ended with a quiet, exhausted surrender over a cold, untouched cup of black coffee. The stale smell of that bitter roast still lingers in my nose, making my chest tighten every single morning. Do not scroll past this. Do not walk away, because if you are sitting there right now, polishing your ego after putting your wife in her place, if you think your ironclad logic just won you her respect, you are walking straight into a graveyard. Listen to me. This is the exact reason why I am sitting on a throne of my own making, completely, entirely alone. Let me take you back to the winter of 1994. I was 36 years old, a hotshot at my firm, rising through the ranks, high on my own supply of importance. I thought the world revolved around my paycheck. It was a Tuesday evening. I walked through the front door at 8:30 p.m. The house was quiet. The heavy smell of a pot roast that had been kept warm for 3 hours filled the kitchen. She was standing by the sink. I remember she was wearing a faded yellow sweater. She didn't look angry, just exhausted. She asked me very quietly why I hadn't called from the office to say I'd be late again. A simple question, a plea for connection, a plea for basic respect. But my ego? My fragile, inflated, pathetic male ego didn't hear a wife missing her husband. It heard an attack. It heard a challenge to my authority. So I didn't apologize. I went to war. I took off my coat, poured myself a scotch, and began to cross-examine the woman I swore to protect. I listed the hours I worked. I threw my salary in her face. I used big words, cold logic, and a condescending tone to completely dismantle her feelings. I told her, while you're worrying about a damn phone call, I'm securing our family's future. I made her feel small. I made her feel like her emotional needs were an irrational, childish burden. And here is the image that haunts me every single night. The moment I won the argument. She didn't yell back. She didn't throw a plate. She just looked at me. Her shoulders dropped. She picked up a dish towel, wiped her hands slowly, and whispered, "Okay, you're right. You're right." 2 words. I felt a sick rush of victory. I was the king of my castle, but I was too blind, too stupid to see that "you're right" wasn't an agreement. It was a resignation. It was the sound of a woman laying the first brick of a wall between us. It wasn't just that night. It was 1,000 small executions of her spirit. It was the Sunday in 1998 when she excitedly showed me a sketch for a garden she wanted to plant. I took one look, told her the soil was wrong, the budget was unrealistic, and that I'd just hire a professional. I watched the light leave her face again. I can still hear the heavy rhythmic thud of her footsteps walking upstairs. Thud, 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 each step taking her further away from my heart. I was the undefeated champion. I won the argument about where to spend the holidays. I won the argument about buying the cars. I won, and I won, and I won. But I didn't realize that in a marriage, if one person constantly wins, both people lose. Fast forward to tonight. Look around me. Look at this immaculate high-end room. I am 68 years old, and I have finally achieved the ultimate male fantasy of absolute control. My house is a fortress of my own rules. The thermostat stays locked exactly at 68 degrees. Nobody ever touches the remote control. Nobody asks me to turn down the volume of the post-game show. Nobody leaves a wet towel on the master bathroom floor. It is perfect, it is orderly, and it is completely, flawlessly dead. Let me tell you about my Friday night. Yesterday evening, around 6:30 p.m., right around the time the house used to smell of garlic and onions, right when she used to ask me, "How was your day, honey?" My smartphone buzzed. Just a small, sharp, metallic vibration against the cold granite of the kitchen island. I paused. My breathing stopped for a second. Even at my age, my heart actually skipped a beat. For a fraction of a second, that stupid, desperate, pathetic part of my brain thought, maybe it's her. Maybe she's reaching out. Or maybe it's a text from my son, just wanting to talk to his old man. I fumbled for my reading glasses. My hands, they betrayed me. They were shaking. I swiped the screen. It was an automated email alert from my bank. "Your statement is ready." I set the phone back down on the cold stone. I just stood there in the middle of a custom-built kitchen designed to feed a family of 5. And I listened. Do you know what I heard? The low mechanical hum of the stainless steel refrigerator. Have you ever noticed how terrifyingly loud a refrigerator is when there is absolutely no other living, breathing soul in your house? It is deafening. It sounds like a metronome ticking away the final hours of your life. I cooked myself dinner, a premium cut of ribeye steak, pan-seared, medium rare, exactly how I always demanded it. I poured a heavy glass of an expensive Cabernet. I walked over to this massive custom-made mahogany dining table. I sat down at the head of the table, and I looked at the empty chair directly across from me. The leather on that chair is still pristine. Not a single crease. No one has sat there in 5 years. I took a bite of that expensive steak, and I swear to God it tasted like dry ash in my mouth. I couldn't swallow it. I just sat there, chewing, staring at the empty space where my wife used to sit, where she used to smile, where she used to exist before I systematically erased her spirit with my pride. Because in that suffocating, heavy silence, the absolute truth finally cornered me in the dark. My ego, that relentless, fiercely loyal guard dog that I fed, praised, and unleashed every single day for 30 years, had done its job perfectly. It protected me from the terror of vulnerability. It protected me from ever having to look a woman in the eyes and say the words, "I was wrong. I am sorry." It chased away my kids, who now only call me out of grim obligation on Thanksgiving and Christmas, speaking to me with polite, guarded, distant voices, treating me like a volatile client rather than a father. My ego built me this magnificent, impenetrable castle, and then it locked the heavy iron gates from the outside and threw away the key. I won the war, gentlemen. I am the undisputed, undefeated king of this empty, echoing hallway. And my grand prize, my glorious, hard-fought reward for never, ever backing down, it is sitting right here, staring at a black television screen, holding a cell phone that never rings, and just waiting for the clock to finally run out. Listen to me very carefully, because I am only going to say this once, and I need you to hear it not with your pride, but with the quiet, terrifying honesty that visits you at 3 a.m. when you can't sleep. Why do we do this? Why do men like you and me burn our own houses down just to rule over the ashes? It is because we have been fed a toxic, catastrophic lie about what it means to be a strong man. We have completely confused leadership with dominance. We think that if we yield, if we concede a single inch in an argument, we lose our authority. We think compromise is a disease, but let me anatomize that precious ego of yours. Let's strip it down. That ego isn't a badge of honor. It is a shield forged from deep, unacknowledged fear. We are terrified. Terrified of not being smart enough, not providing enough, not being respected enough. So instead of being vulnerable, we build a wall of logic. We turn our homes into courtrooms, and we become the ruthless prosecutors. We take the rules of the cutthroat world, where yielding costs you money and status, and we drag those rules into our living rooms. But a marriage is not a boardroom. It is a sanctuary. And when you bring a sword into a sanctuary, the only thing you will end up cutting is the heart of the person trying to heal you. You think she wants a flawless logic machine. You think she wants a lawyer who can perfectly cross-examine her emotions until she has no defense left? No. She wants a partner. She wants a man who is strong enough to drop his armor, look her in the eyes, and say, "I messed up. I am sorry." Do you know how much true, terrifying strength it takes to admit you are wrong to the woman you love? It takes 1,000 times more courage than winning a screaming match. Here is the brutal, undeniable truth from a man sitting at the end of his road. If you have to crush the spirit of the woman standing next to you just to feel like a man, you are not a man. You are a frightened little boy wearing a very expensive suit. You can be right 100% of the time. You can have the most airtight, logical, bulletproof argument in the history of the world. But if being right means she cries herself to sleep, if being right means she stops sharing her dreams with you, then your rightness is a catastrophic, miserable failure. So what do you do now? If you are lucky enough, if by some miracle your wife is still sitting on the couch in the next room, if she hasn't completely turned to stone yet, you have a window. But I promise you, that window is closing faster than you think. Rule number 1, you stand up tonight, you walk into that room, and you swallow that jagged, bitter pill of your pride. I don't care if you think you are 51% right about the credit card bill or the kids' grades. You look at her and you apologize for the damage you did with your tone. You say, "I am sorry for making you feel like an opponent." And then you do the hardest thing for a man. You shut your mouth. Rule number 2, resign from the bar. Stop treating your marriage like a damn courtroom. Your living room is not a place for cross-examinations, and she is not a hostile witness on the stand. The next time she comes to you feeling overwhelmed, you do not offer a 5-point logical solution. You put your arm around her and you say, "We will figure this out together." You become her sanctuary, not her judge. Rule number 3, the brutal question. Sometime this week, pour her a cup of coffee. Sit across from her. Look deep into those tired eyes you've been avoiding for a decade and ask her, "Tell me, what have I done to make you feel alone in this house?" And when she finally breaks down, when years of built-up resentment pour out of her, You do not defend yourself. You do not interrupt. You sit there and you absorb that pain because you caused it. You take it like a man. Look around this beautiful dead house of mine one last time. That pride you are holding on to, it is a ghost. It will not comfort you when the house goes completely dark. The ultimate legacy of a man is not the arguments he won. It is not the company he built, the money in his portfolio, or the fear he commanded from his peers. When your time comes and your body starts to fail, your ironclad logic cannot wipe the sweat from your forehead. A true man's legacy is the warmth of his wife's hand holding his in his final moments because she actually wants to be there. Go fix your marriage, gentlemen. Drop your damn sword before you end up just like me, the undefeated champion of an empty room.